Hey guys, what's going on? This is going to be my education piece, kind of going over block reviews slash making good training decisions. So it's going to be like a little 10-minute video. I'm going to try to keep it as concise as possible. Hopefully, make it make sense. So when I'm coaching you, for example, if I write a program out, and this is more on how to execute the program to the best of our abilities and kind of make it make sense. So I'm going to use this as an example for you guys to actually make decisions on what you end up doing each week of training. And hopefully this will allow us to better execute the program, better acknowledge how to troubleshoot the program, and make changes. So we're going to use just this day one as just an example. And then we're going to go through like a 4-week progression on what that might look like and how it might play out in general, and to teach you guys some stuff. And then overall, I'll go over some key metrics for block review. So, and this is the goal of this is to help you when you're writing your block reviews, be able to even analyze your block as you're writing through the monthly synopsis to really gauge what went well, what didn't go well, what things need to be improved, and just give more of a synopsis there. So let's start with day one. So if I program you low bar squats, we have like a top triple RP6, I give you a suggested load range, right? How do I want you to approach it? Well, one is we need to learn how to rate RP. How to rate RP is based on, in my opinion, finding your sticking point, finding where you're going to miss the lift, whether it's at the bottom or the top of a lift, and where you're going to miss. Then you judge the bar speed based on how many reps in reserve you have. So an RP6 set for a top triple means something you could do for a set of 7, like realistically. So a 7 RM for this individual, let's say I program 240 to 255 is kind of like that load range for the squat, and let's say their max is like 319 or something like that. What's going to happen is on the day, you're going to suggest what your best last warm-up would be that'll give you the best gauge for that day, and consider your external factors and other warm-ups going up to adjust. So let's say I'm like, my goal for today is like anywhere between 240 and 255. My last warm-up should probably be around 15 pounds below my top set for the squat range. If we're on bench press, this might be a 5-pound jump last warm-up for a lifter that benches sub 200 pounds. For a lifter that benches 300 and up, it's probably more of a 10-pound jump to a 15-pound jump is probably appropriate for a last warm-up. And then for a deadlift, if you're pulling above 600 pounds, maybe it's a 15 kilo or a 30-pound jump is usually pretty appropriate for you. Those are all ideas that could help you. So let's say we warm up, we hit our first rep, we hit 230 as our last warm-up, and we film it, we hit it for a single, and we're like, man, feels really good. Like, let's go 250, right? You hit the 250, you actually hit it at a 6 RP. So you go 250, hit it at a 6 RP. Great, that's awesome, right? We move on to the next week. Let's say I program an RP7. RP7 is something you could hit for a set of 6, right? In theory. That's how I want you to view it. Because if you view it that way, RP will be a bit more smart and logistical, and you'll probably overshoot less. It'll be a little bit more straightforward. So triple at 7, you think, ooh, well, based on last week, I think 260 is probably the suggested load because 10-pound jump kind of makes reasonable sense given the RP constraints, whatever that may be. Let's say you warm up on the day, and warm-ups start feeling good. You hit 245 as your last, or 250 as your last warm-up for a single, and it doesn't feel great. Like, it does not feel awesome. Well, what I would recommend is repeat the weight into 250. And the problem is you're going to hit this and kind of RP7 and be like, oh, I'm regressing. I'm getting worse. It's like, well, no, you're auto-regulating to the exertion level that we need on the day. That's going to lead to adaptation. Maybe the first week created a bit of a fatigue debt, and that led you to underperform. Or the underperformance could have been based on the fact that you came in with really shit sleep, shit nutrition, and you had to adjust. Versus if you're the client that does this and goes 260 and hits it at an RP8, now all of a sudden, you literally hit the same E1RM, but you overshot. And now you're kind of screwed because let's say the week later I program you an RP of 7 again, and then you end up hitting 260 pounds, and it moves at a 9 RPE because you thought you could do more and you overshot again. So now we put that at a 9 RP, now our E1RM is dropping lower. It's not that you're getting weaker, you're just poorly managing your fatigue patterns and poorly managing your load selections. So for example, what the correct thing would be to do for this progression, and I'll finish with the last progression, and usually this is what happens with a lot of lifters, and I'm not trying to flame you guys, but a lot of times I'm going to program an RP9 single, or an RP8, sorry, and you guys will end up doing 270 because you end up forcing progression. You hit 270 and you hit it at an RP of 10, nothing left in the tank. Well, now you've hit 287 E1RM, you've hit 289 E1RM, 299 E1RM, and then 309. So you basically started with like the best E1RM on the first week, and it all tanked downhill. Why? Because we are overshooting, we're chasing bar load, we decided to pipeline our progression, and that ultimately led to not productive training, right? This is in theory how you should be approaching it, and this is probably what's going to happen for a lot of you guys, is you're going to hit 250 at a 7 RPE. Okay, I should say 250 at a 7 RP because you actually adjusted based on load progression and you adjusted based on what you could hit on the day. On the week, we program another RP7. You hit a good warm-up set and you actually do a true RP7 set. Now E1RM's increasing a bit more, which is great. It did drop in week 2. And then on week 4, because we actually were really smart with our progression, we ended up hitting 265 at an 8 RP for our triple, leading to a 305 E1RM, which is pretty good, right? But we know as an advanced lifter in the course of 4 weeks, that's not how you get stronger. You get stronger over accumulating 12 weeks of progression. So if we take average E1RM here, overall, we go from 309 to 298 to 304 to 305. So pretty steady, not a huge spike necessarily in E1RM, but we're not looking for a big spike in E1RM. Maybe it's possible that our E1RM goes up 10 pounds over 12 weeks. That's the progression we're kind of looking for. Or even 16 weeks, it could be even longer, right? But what we notice is that we don't force bar load. We take what's there on the day. And then let's say we run a new block and maybe we do doubles or something. Maybe we're like, oh, we need to hit this pipeline 285 double. Well, it's like if life stress is high, you're not feeling great with your training, that's impacting it. If you simply just do this adjusted load because that's what Ian said, suggested load's where it's at, that's what we're going to do, then obviously that's an issue. There's 2 ways I want you guys to think of a program. So a lot of times in your program, if I give you a strict RP, I'm very much like auto-regulate on the day, really take your time with it. There are some athletes and some instances during a peaking block where I will actually program you more of a pipelined approach. So it'll be less RP based. It'll be more like hit this load because I know it's going to be like an RP4. And then on week 2, we're going to go like RP6. And then week 3, we're going to go RP8. And then on week 4, we'll go RP10 on meet day, that type of shit, that type of pipeline shit. If I communicate those pipelines, I will absolutely communicate those with you. But a lot of times I'm going to actually probably remove a lot of suggested loads nowadays or give you a larger range of suggested loads so we get less married to those top end numbers. Because what a lot of the lifters do is like, they're like, oh, I can't rate my RP well. I don't really know what I'm doing. Well, it's like we need to learn this skill anyways, and it's important for you to learn. And another common mistake that you guys make as well, which I'm going to do a 2-part series. We're going to end it soon just because I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I'll program an RP8. You'll program RP8, and then I watch the video, and it looks like an RP10, not a single ounce of strength left in the tank. That's a huge issue because when I review your programs and I review your stuff, this is not allowing me to be able to actually understand or know what's working or not because this is a lie, right? Because realistically, if it's 265 for an RP8 set, that means you could have done, if this was a triple, you should be able to do it for a set of 5, like a 5 RM. So if you were to take that triple for 5 reps, ask me honestly, could you actually do it based on sticking point? And a lot of times it's a no. And this isn't to flame you guys. I am guilty of this just as much as you are. I've been doing this for 10 plus years and I still make the same mistakes and I still struggle with being honest and objective with me because I think about my competition. I think about like what I want to hit and like what do I need to hit to get to X point. And I think it's very important that you guys film your videos, look at the RPs based on sticking points and be honest with yourself. Like how many reps do I have in the tank? And by being more honest with yourself, what's going to happen is that your program is going to be less linear, but you're going to manage fatigue really well. And ultimately, you're going to focus on training and building your strength. And then the other big factor is we could relinquish a crazy amount of expectations And this will ultimately lead to, again, just better training decisions, better fatigue management, and better gains long-term, and probably less injuries. Because if you pipeline things, sometimes it goes really well and you're like, I'm on top of the world. But when it doesn't go well, it fucking crashes and burns and everything feels like shit. So when I program you guys RP, you can use the previous week as a guideline based on factors that you probably should be able to hit a bit more. But you kind of have to come into the session a bit more blind in terms of setting yourself up with a very realistic last warm-up that allows you room to take a low end of the range and a top end of the range. If you can do that and make those decisions, it's really going to help you a shit ton when it comes to understanding and executing your program. So I'm going to cap it here. I don't want to go beyond 10 minutes. The next series I'm going to do next week is going to cover over block reviews and reviewing your blocks, figuring out what went well, what you didn't do well from an execution standpoint, and what I look for in terms of block reviews. So let's end it off here. If you have questions, let me know, and we'll take it from there.